Hello, everyone, and welcome to our bi-weekly or slightly less so boring enterprise nerds Nerdletter Talk. I'm Elena Perfilieva, and my partner, as always, is Paul Moderman. And we are returning after holiday break right now. So this is our first video of 2025. So welcome, welcome to 2025,
Welcome
everyone.
to welcome to the unmushing of our brains from holiday
Yeah,
break.
welcome, welcome to the other side. We glad you made it. So yeah, and fun story. We do still have Christmas tree because I'm Russian, and we usually celebrate way later till what we call Old New Year, which is January 13th. So
Oh,
when the rest of the world ended their celebration, we still continue. So all
well,
right.
so I'll tell you this. My house will be in ignorant solidarity because we just leave it up for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
so on the
mean,
13th, I'll be like, "Oh, Yelena's doing like old Russian
why
New
not?
Year." Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah, why not? So you know now you have valid excuse. All right. So what we do in these talks, we share the stories that we planned for our newsletter that is going to come out next week on Wednesday. And we usually have three each. Sometimes we have a bonus. This time I do have bonus. So one of those subjects may not make it. So
Ooh,
let's
bonus.
place your bets now. All right. So Paul, if that's okay with you, I will just start
Yeah,
with
go for it.
sharing. I know that you're ready too, but we'll just get this done very quickly so that everyone can get back to their important meetings and emails. Awesome. So very interesting post on LinkedIn, and you can see it was posted beginning of December. I don't know if it's just me, Paul, or if anyone else sees this. I see this constantly on LinkedIn that there is an interesting post, but it doesn't surface onto my feed until 2 or 3 weeks later. So
Yeah, that
this
happens
is
to me too.
yeah. Yeah. So people at LinkedIn like stop doing that
Yeah.
surface stuff faster.
Give
So
us
I
the
yeah.
goodies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, some stuff is time sensitive, but this is I'm glad that even 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm glad that I found it because this is really great blog from Martin talking about red flags in SAP projects. And I will have a link to that, obviously. And if anyone who worked on any SAP project, you will scroll through that, you will see this, yes, like all of this immediately. And it starts just right off the bat with two of my favorites. First one is what I call premature solutioning, which is when we haven't even thought about what are we going to achieve, but we're already jumping to the solution
Mm,
phase.
yeah.
And I think what it sometimes leads to, you, instead of thinking the problems that you want to solve, you start bending your problem to the solution, which eventually you will need to do because we need to be realistic, but doing this too early, it's not very productive. And this is one of my pet peeves. And sorry, functional consultants who have been technical, started as developers, but
Yeah.
this can be I feel that this can be like either awesome or really bad because
You know, that's
yeah,
it's funny you say that because I think that's so true about it can either be awesome or bad. But I think the first or second RICEF that I ever did in my life was written by a functional consultant who knew ABAP
yeah,
and knew it well and knew his business process well. And so like I didn't even know it as I was like okay, so how do I was like struggling my way through it. And then like every other day he would just send me a little like it was back then it was Lotus same time. He would
mm,
send me a little same time message and say like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this on line 27." Like and I didn't even know he was like reading my code as I'm
yeah,
like developing stuff. And that was amazing. But very soon in that project I had the exact opposite experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. As Martin writes, there are several issues with that. One, that it's kind of we don't expect that from functional consultants. To be honest, it's not
Yeah.
their job to write code. So I'm not saying they must not do that because I'm being a gatekeeper of our profession. But it's just more beneficial when they do their job well, so
Yeah.
then developers can do our job well. Because
Yep.
if functional folks don't do that, then they're not enabling us either, unfortunately. And also, with all due respect, a lot have changed in ABAP
Yeah.
for the last 10 years. So if you started with ABAP, you haven't really done this professionally, like full time for number of years, please understand that your your knowledge have kind of expired already. So don't try to mislead people into doing some kind of pseudocode. So yeah, so there is lots, there is some more. So I will write about all of this as
Mm.
really as some post.
Yeah, yeah.
Then second one, so this is a weird one. I sometimes just stumble upon some articles, and I don't even remember how this surfaced for me. Maybe someone mentioned it in another post, but this is from 2023, so this is pretty old. And at first, it's catchy title, of course, enterprise software is dead. That immediately catches everyone's attention. I bookmarked this one for later reading, and I did read it finally over the holidays. So the reason I bookmarked because I really liked the introduction. It started talking about how enterprise software started with bundled like Office, then Google came out with their kind of Google Suite as a disruptor, and
Yeah.
they tried to do kind of unbundling, but then they ended up also bundling with Gmail and all of those solutions. And now we're coming around for another round of another set of disruptors, et cetera, et cetera. So I really kind of like this perspective on the history. Um, then I got a little disappointed in how this story kind of unraveled, or rather did not unravel, but just jumped into talking about the new like apps, because later on he just starts talking about, let's just scroll down, um talking about, yeah, different solutions for different aspects of enterprise, etc. And it's sometimes those articles are just thinly veiled puff piece that is just marketing post that is to generate traffic or something. But
Mm.
it isn't exactly like that, because first of all of those, I think, solutions that he mentions, they are actually good. So it's not like, oh, here I'm talking about well-known solutions, but suddenly I'm mentioning this one no one really thought about or heard about, and there is usual reason for it, because those are the guys who are paying for this article
Mm.
probably, or author have some kind of interest. I don't think this is the case, but then I was kind of upset at this author because he didn't he his writing kind of fell through. So there was beginning of the story that kind of went nowhere in the end. So
Mm.
I felt this probably good to mention in this conversation, because it gave me some thoughts about this packaging and unpackaging, because we also wrote and read and listened about a lot about enterprise modules and
Yep.
composable ERP and
Composable
monolith,
ERP.
etc. So this sort of packaging and unpackaging activity goes everywhere in software
Yep.
world, back and forth. So it was kind of interesting subject, but may not make it. Then I do have short subject for which I don't have anything to show right now, but I loosely gave it kind of working title. Let's up like it's 2025. And the source of it is there are posts shared mostly on LinkedIn, sometimes on SAP community still, where people try to talk about how to do things in ABAP, but for some reason they either just talk about things that we have done in the past, really shouldn't do anymore, or they talk about newer subjects, but suddenly you see included some code that is really old timey. So it's really strange mixed bag. And I'm kind of thinking that there might have been a gap created in how ABAP developers these days gain their knowledge, because as we all know, Paul and I are from older generation of developers. We all started many years ago, over decades
So
ago.
long ago. Oh my
So
God.
so we kind of grew up with ABAP in a way, because ABAP has experienced change over this exact period in our
Mm.
in our life. That's when we went from ECC to S/4HANA to HANA was
Mhm.
created. That's where all those web services. We started with SOAP, now all data services. That's where all this development happened. ABAP
Yeah.
objects, all of this, it happened in our lifetime. So we got a chance to simply grow into this. But imagine if I'm new developer and I'm either started a couple of years ago or I'm starting now. So I wasn't exposed to all this history before. So you
Yeah.
start now, you need to have some way to maybe catch up a little bit and also to learn about how we're doing this from now on. So you don't have to learn everything that Paul and I knows, everything that we have been through, but you do need to look back and you do need to understand this kind of delineation of what's like old stuff. You can still do this, but really looking forward, you shouldn't. And I think this is where there is some kind of gap in maybe education. So um, when Paul and I were growing up, there weren't that many books. There was no open SAP. There was nothing. There was no
Yeah.
online learning. It was mostly word of mouth, maybe conferences, SAP Press books. And we grew up with Thomas Young and Rich Heilman educating everyone on the classic ABAP. But the thing is, Thomas and Rich, they moved on to the future realm. So I'm not going to say they abandoned. I mean, they moved on with their lives and their career, so it's fair. But there is no equivalent of Thomas and Rich for like the today ABAP, for ABAP
Yep.
maybe from 2 years ago
Yep. That's
and from
fair.
today. So there
Absolutely
is a
fair.
lot of content from SAP, but it's again covering only purely future, cloud, etc., or whatever SAP wants to talk about. Um, but there is kind of like if then else loop kind of stuff, internal tables, things that we all know and what someone is supposed to learn in their basic ABAP training. I think that basic ABAP training just sucks for many developers. I really want to know where exactly they learn this stuff, but someone is teaching them poorly initially, and then they get kind of dropped into this strange world where past and future coexist, and they are like very lost. And I think that's and and it's not like I feel sad that I'm not the influencer who gets like 500 likes on LinkedIn posting crap about ABAP, but I think some of those people may be inadvertently doing some harm, I think, to education of our younger generation, sadly, because they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is like, yeah. And I'm just so tired just posting negative comments on it because then people, well, I just want to share. So, but at the same time, I mean, it's not good. So
Yeah.
something needs to be done in some
This is a
way.
really this is a I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad there's no like website that we're just like staring at as we
Yeah.
look at for this particular thing,
Yeah.
because I think it's bigger than one. The whole thing is bigger than one like shitpost can contain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also like as you talk about this stuff too. I have this. My head keeps coming back to what we've discussed at length a number of times. Is like when we talk about the new generation, the younger generation, whatever you want to call it, the people coming in. I I feel like in the US that just doesn't exist anymore
Yeah.
almost,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I keep having these weird like, man, you're totally right. And at the same time, like physically or just community wise, I don't know, like in our country right now, I don't even know who I would talk to about that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean in terms
Yeah.
of like
Likewise.
like sh like at some point are we going to be like gurus on a mountaintop or whatever, and there are no students who are trying to
Yeah.
climb the mountain anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gurus without followers.
Gurus without followers.
That
Are
might
we
be.
even
Yeah.
gurus then? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah. But there are
there are
clearly.
people,
I
but they're
mean, there are
just not
people because I see
here.
questions, and
Yeah,
some of those questions are valid. And again, I wouldn't ask, but that's I acknowledge that I had I had time to learn all of this as it was going on. But now, if I started now, I would be terribly confused, to be honest. And
Horribly confused.
I think again, SAP has done a lot to improve education. I kind of I am losing. This is early in the year, guys. So bear with me. I'm trying mixing up my words. So I think we can acknowledge that SAP really improved a lot. But first of all, they have tons of scope. It's not just ABAP. They need to teach people about all their products, SAP build, Signavio, all of this stuff,
Yeah.
functional stuff. So there is huge scope. They cannot do it themselves. And they also have only, I bet they also have limited resources for the learning and training activities because unless it's paid, kind of paid for money in-person training, it's not a money maker for them.
Mm-mm.
That's what the suits are thinking. That's the typical
Yeah.
approach. So and at the same time, SAP community has been kind of on decline. We again we keep talking about it, but some so there is clearly void that needs to be filled. What is the best way to fill it? I'm not sure I have a prescription, but at least I think if we can acknowledge what the void is, we can
I
start
mean,
filling it
this,
in.
honestly, this, so you just did a perfect wraparound to the first thing you talked about because there's the upfront requirements gathering and there's
Yeah,
solutioning, right?
yeah,
Right now, what you're describing and what we're
yeah.
talking about is like the requirements gathering
Requirements gathering,
essentially,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
Don't jump to the solution
Yeah,
because we don't
yeah.
know all the requirements yet, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. All right, awesome. So this will be a requirement gathering piece. Awesome. So and then my last subject. So I went for something really really kind of fun and edgy and non-SAP and not
Oh,
ABAP
quantum.
related. So quantum computing. This 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 will be probably just like here is a YouTube video link and watch it and tell me if you understood anything from it. So this is again from my all-time favorite YouTube channel, Fireship. He has tons of very fun videos, but this one is about quantum computing, and I'm not going to talk about it at length because it's just 5-minute video, so really just watch it. Um, I just want to point out one funny comment that said that, well, Google doesn't know what quantum computing is or how to explain it. So they were probably waiting for your video to come out and explain to people what the heck quantum computing even
Uh,
is. And
uh,
I'm kind of in that category. I've heard about this, but if you ask me to explain you what it is, I wouldn't. I'm honestly not quite sure I still can after watching this, but I found this very entertaining and educational. So that's kind of my
Lovely.
less
That's
fun
awesome.
story of this week. And over to you, Paul.
Okay, so first up, Stack Overflow. They have a great blog. Um,
Mm,
and they also have a podcast. And I think this is something we've touched on this year a number of times,
mm-hmm,
I should say the past year. Um, and they did a highlights episode of
mm,
various parking through like talking about that thing because I think that just in general, I think they're right. Developer jobs changed in 2024
mm,
somehow, right? I don't necessarily mean that like the work you do changed, but like the market, the
mm,
temperature, the appetite, all that like shifted into weirdo zone in 2024, I think. There's a lot more open to work and whatever that little badge thing is on like LinkedIn stuff. There's a
mm,
lot more of that around and there's a lot of people I see a lot of people who are like I've been looking for months and months and months now where it used to be like you would trip and stumble and you'd fall into a
yeah,
software developer job, right?
yeah.
So there's things going on there, and what I like is that they also broke down the episodes they composed it from, and there's another one out there that I might focus on instead, which is because again this is something that I think that you have talked about a number of times in our newsletter is what is full stack,
Mm,
right? And like I think inside our sort of niche universe of SAP, it means something slightly different than outside
Yeah.
of our niche universe, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always cool to hear the perspective from, like, it's a guarantee. No, I haven't listened to it this episode. I guarantee nobody on this episode is talking about SAP
Yeah.
development, right?
For
A
sure. Yeah.
hundred percent guarantee. I'll take that bet anywhere,
ABAP
right?
ABAP didn't get a mention.
Didn't get a mention here. Nobody on this episode gives a flying F about
Mm.
ABAP. So, so anyway, between either the overview of like WTF 2024 or the full stack sort of comparison between our enterprise world and the outside world, either are interesting things. So, but Stack Overflow blog and podcast is a rich source for that stuff. So that's the first one. One of these two is the first one, or both somehow. Second one is SAP Business AI.
Mm.
This one, like, and I'm a turbo dork for AI. Turbo dork. My Kindle has like research papers on it. I'm using the little pencil to like scribble on.
Mm.
Like, I love this stuff. SAP Business AI is a weird thing, not because anything that SAP does in the AI space is weird. It makes perfect sense for what they do for their products and what the customers are looking for. But there's this like, it's one of those things that's like where the label is a little weird
Yeah.
because like I don't think you can just go, yes, one business AI, please. Uh, like I would like one business AI, thank you. Right?
Yeah.
Like anything that you want is like under that. So people are saying, how can I skill up in SAP Business AI? How can I do this? When like that would be like skilling up in, I don't know, breathing or talking. Like that doesn't like you don't
Yeah.
skill up in that. You know what I mean? You have to
How how
dive
how
down
can they
under
learn
it.
SAP BCP?
Yeah, like you have to dive there's like the first step in learning SAP Business AI is to realize that itself is not a thing. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of things under the thing. It's like Leonardo. Leonardo was never a
I was
thing
just
by itself.
gonna say
Leonardo
like
was, yeah.
what is the deal with this package names or
I
I
was
mean
I was trying to think of an analogy just a few minutes ago before we started here. I was trying to think of an analogy of like why this keeps like both this and Leonardo and some other things kind of bump up against my head. And it's kind of like I'll try this out. This might fail. So I don't know. But like if you think about in the 90s, the Chicago Bulls were the best basketball team in the United States.
mm,
Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, a few years of Dennis Rodman, all these great players, and they won every championship they were part of. They won. So in the 90s, you were like, if you're talking about US basketball, Chicago Bulls, bar none, right?
mm,
But so now imagine that team, again, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, all these greats, and you take off the Chicago Bulls jersey and you put on like your Pee Wee Rec League from the Y jersey on them, they would still win championships,
yeah,
right? It had nothing to do with calling them the Chicago Bulls.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like there's great members of this AI team here. There's like little features in procurement and there's features in HR that are AI driven that are great, but like the business AI label is just confusing because it doesn't point to anything.
yeah.
It's a null pointer. You know what I mean?
And it's funny if you look up at the at those breadcrumbs, it sits under all products. It's not a product. It's
I
not
don't like
like you said,
I don't
you
think you
don't
can
like buy SAP Business AI. So like
yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird, but
Yeah,
and don't take this as me hating on it. I'm not hating on AI, or I'm
yeah,
not even hating on SAP doing AI. I'm hating on let's just name stuff better because
naming.
you just
Yeah,
confuse stuff, right?
yeah.
So there's that, and then there's a nice like YouTube like channel collection of things that are like
Mm,
the 1 to 2 minute little like marketing blurbs. And I'm gonna watch a few of them and see if like maybe if you watch these, maybe you'll get a sense. But I think under the covers, it's still like it's like the name is don't pay attention to the name. Dive right
yeah.
past the name and look at what's there,
Yeah.
right?
And honestly, I'm just looking like SAP Business AI. I mean, it's SAP, so what do you think their AI would be for, if not for business? Would be
I
like for
know.
like giggles and shit, like,
I
like,
I
like,
yeah.
like what else would it be? It's like
That was that
I don't
was
know. It's like
vi-
buttery.
when they did the rebrand to BTP, I had that moment too of like,
Yeah, like
well, duh.
really,
Like what
yeah.
else?
I mean,
It's like calling it the it would be like calling it the SAP I don't know. I had a good joke there, but it's gone. I don't know.
yeah,
But it was just redundant. It's like the
yeah.
redundancy redundant. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so there's that. And then the other thing I got into, I looked into about three or four, and I'll keep looking further. There's this wave of so like I mean we're all familiar with ERP. We're enterprise nerds. We talk about
Mm.
ERP. We do that stuff. There's this wave obviously of startups that are trying to like put AI at the core of their like ERP stuff. And obviously it's like kind of a little bit of a mess right now, right? But I want to look at and kind of comb through a couple of the startups that are out there that are trying to put like, hey, it's ERP and AI is at the core of it. Okay, but what does it mean? Like,
Mm.
is are you still getting what you think you get when you get an ERP? You know what I mean? So there's this place
Yeah.
called Cogna. It has this interesting like our method is discover, define, delivered. And they do this I mean this is solution requirement gathering,
Yeah.
solutioning, right? Whatever. And their claim here is that after you like discover the stuff, define the stuff, so you like
Mm.
upload the existing whatever, it's like our AI powered platform will build and deploy a solution within 2 weeks.
Mm.
So like I'm really curious to see what does that mean? Like what does that
Well,
look like?
it's
Right?
funny that support is not mentioned here. So it's like, here is your AI generated ERP. Like, have fun with it. Like, good luck, buddy.
Hope it works.
I
Yeah.
hope it works.
Yeah, I would love that's a great
Like,
that's a great call
that's
out.
kind
Is
of,
it like I
yeah.
don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean
Um
that's pro. But the thing is, they're going to sell like tons of this because stakeholders never think farther than delivering this. Like, oh, we got, yeah, let's get this running, and but that's it. It's never the end of the story in real life of ERP software, of serious ERP software. So I don't know.
they've
It's
got a full stack engineer job available.
well,
So we could also
yeah,
cross-pollinate our stories here too, right?
yeah,
With
yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh man, they should hire someone on LinkedIn. There are lots of lots of people available. Like, what's the
Yeah.
deal with these people? They cannot find one.
Actually, that's a funny thing is like why are there even job postings? Like just go to
Yeah.
LinkedIn and like look at the circles that have open to work and like
Yeah,
hire them.
you
Yeah.
know what? We should have some kind of like corporate Tinder service or something, because we look at the website. There, every company has a career website. Why are there still open jobs? I don't
Yeah.
understand it. I
Yeah.
go to LinkedIn. There are tons of people. How come there is like no synergy? Like, so let's let's talk to the companies. Let's talk to people. Let's figure out what the heck is missing. And I bet it's many times location, location, location,
Yeah, I think it's location,
and
location,
or
location.
salary, of course. But that may be somewhat negotiable, maybe. But so let's figure this out. Let's get synergy going. So yeah, let's help Cogna fill in their post developer
Here's
positions.
another one. This is more focused
Ooh,
on testing,
oh
but it's
boy.
across a number of different
Mm,
applications. So that's a curious thing. And then there's like a construction ERP. Right? So
mm,
now construction ERP built by AI, clearly AI created like background picture
mm,
here, right? Again, AI first, and like I'm an AI long termer. I'm an AI like, yeah, it's gonna eventually eat everything, sure, but
mm,
that doesn't mean that like right now, right?
mm,
So like I don't know. I look at these things with hope, but also skepticism for
mm.
the first version of whatever it is,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so that's kind of what I'll and so I get just like the Stack Overflow. I don't know whether I'll dive in on one of these or I'll just kind of mention all of the ones that I
Mm.
find here,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something interesting going on in the like, let's put AI at the center and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, if there are any full stack engineers in
Yeah,
United Kingdom
in the
looking
UK,
looking for jobs, then yeah,
join this team.
yeah,
I mean, it looks
join
cool.
this.
I'd
Awesome.
work
They
there
they have a
physically.
dog,
It
so
looks cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sweet,
That's
sweet,
my stuff,
sweet.
though.
Awesome.
I hereby relinquish
All right.
the controls.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, so really we have variety of stories and subjects. Really exciting start to
You, I
2025.
mean, you guys, it's almost too much, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
jeez.
we're giving generous stories today. So, so help yourself to this smorgasbord of enterprise software subjects. All right, so read it in your next boring meeting. All right. So read our stories next week in the next installment of Boring Enterprise Nerdletter. And as always, subscribe, like, follow, all of that. And we'll talk to you guys again in about 2 weeks. Bye now.
Bye, guys.